What's going on, everybody? We are back. Episode number 208 of the Club and Sub podcast. Tonight, we're talking UFC Vegas 102. Jared Cannonier main eventing his third inside of 12 months, taking on Gregory Rodrigues, making his first main event. Okay card. I'm excited for it. As usual, guys, brought to you by FightNumbers.com. Awesome website for 30% off your first month's subscription there. Use the promo code CLUB, CLUB. As I always say every week, they got the best DFS projections in the business from John Kelly there. They got the live odds screen. It changes live odds in real time. They got John's Trends tool, which is pretty cool. And they got bets for Pepe and Ozzy. Honestly, it's well worth the price of admission, in my opinion. But for 30% off for your first month, you can try it out. Promo code CLUB, CLUB. And guys, as usual, drop a like, subscribe. We'd appreciate it. It would help us out. And just to note it, we will not be doing this on Monday regularly. We're still going to be doing Sundays. Not trying to go head-to-head with Clint every week, not something we're trying to do. We love Clint, and also we like viewership. And, yeah, but the Super Bowl yesterday, didn't want to get in front of Pat Mahomes. We left that to the Philadelphia Eagles. We took care of business.
Yep.
Nice little +1 Eagles cash last night. It was pretty fun.
Saquon Barkley, love to see it. First Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. That was a Penn State boy. Penn State guy. And a Pennsylvania. They may not be your team, Lags, but a Pennsylvania team did conquer the Missouri Villains.
Yes.
I got some pink lemonade with a little bit of vodka in it. Ready to roll here on a Monday night. But first, let's talk about last week's card. It was fucking frustrating as shit for me. I lost 5.8 units. I guess I'll start from the last bet I made. I said on the show I wasn't going to bet Tatiana Suarez unless she went to dog. I leaned that direction, but I felt like I couldn't do it unless she went dog. Heard some news that sounded like Weili was hurt. Between that and me leaning that way, that seemed like enough for me to make her like a pretty firm favorite. And yeah, so I full sent it, 3.6 units, disaster. It's funny, she ended the first takedown, and I was like, this is going to be so easy. Like 3 minutes into the fight. Not so much. Weili Zhang, best strawweight to ever do it. She's awesome. That was brutal. I had 2 units on Justin Tafa plus 125. I mean, he just got assassinated instantly. I don't know why.
I was going to say, I don't know why he was protesting the stoppage. That's what we're talking about. That was insane.
It was so bad. I did have 3.92 units on Jake Matthews minus 195. That played out more or less how I thought it would. Everybody kept asking me, do I think he's going to wrestle? And it's like, I hope he does, but probably not. But like the level gap was just huge. Like, Jake Matthews is a good UFC fighter. Prado is not. And
the size gap as well.
Yeah. Oh, you could see it. He was twice. Like, you could see his shots had like no impact on Matthews, and Matthews' shots had a very healthy impact on him. I also won on Gabriel Santos minus 186. I had 3.72 units there. I almost had a heart attack 20 seconds into that fight when he got head kicked, but
unreal.
But I mean, after I was texting Gambas during the fight, and after like he got on top of him, I was like, yeah, we got this from here. Like I knew whenever Santos got on top, he was going to own. Makes it all the more frustrating that Jamal Emmers just refused to do that until round 3 of that fight. But life comes at you fast. And then I shouldn't say I got fucked here. I did not get fucked at all. It was a bad bet. I had 4.2 units. Kevin Gisette minus 205. I was stunned that Kevin Gisette couldn't figure out how to deal with a right hook and a naked leg and a naked body kick. Just didn't seem to be able to figure it out. It was pretty frustrating. The thing that bothered me was like I still feel like even with him fighting as dog shit as he did, if he doesn't get head kicked and dropped in round 1, he probably wins the unanimous decision. And you saw the moment he stopped like cowering and just started going forward in round 3, he won the round pretty easily. Like I feel like it was a fight that he could have looked the line like that I thought he was, but I mean he didn't, and it was a bad bet. And I mean I knew a couple really sharp people who bet Mikhailov. Congrats to
I
them.
think what was interesting though, I felt like DC was really hyping up oh man, this is not the fighter we saw on the tape. It's like I don't know, man. I just kind of looked kind of similar to the guy I saw on tape.
Dude, that's like literally, I had that same conversation with someone else who's like, Mikhailov striking was uncappable. I'm like, was it? Like, it looks basically more or less what I expected. I thought Gisette like would try to lead with the right hand a lot more because it's like he's gonna find a home for it all day. But yeah, it was bad. Dravi's in the chat. What's up, Dravi? We'll talk about the card in a second. He made a great shout on Zurong. I literally wanted to pull the trigger so bad. I really just thought Steele was going to break him with base, though. I did, and Wrong just beat his ass. How'd you do? You did pretty well, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, how wrong could Zoo be at that price?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Not too great. It's only had 2 plays, minus 2 units in total. So I had 1 unit on the Crute Volato under 1.5 at plus 110.
Whoa.
I know. definitely had its chances. Is what it is on that. And then same price plus 110 on the Suarez Zhang under 3.5 rounds. Had a unit on that as well. So
yeah, I thought you. Oh no, the parlay was last week. That was right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we move on to this
week. It's a little greasy.
Dude, I'm like so fucking annoyed. I got my wife's got like fucking plans for us every Saturday this month. Like I was hoping it was a late card. We have like dinner for my friend's wife's birthday at 5. Of course, it starts at 4 p.m. So that's good. I'll be back.
We're doing like a whole Valentine's thing on Saturday. So yeah, I'm probably not.
Yeah, I'm not even getting to do that. I got the 2 kids at home on Friday and then going to my friend's wife's birthday dinner on Saturday. Joy. I shouldn't say that. He's one of my good friends. But anyway, what do you think of this card? It's decent. I think it's okay for betting. It should be decently entertaining. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's interesting now because obviously we're doing a Sunday show now, so we're mostly just dealing with money lines. Just from a money line perspective, again, it's a tricky one. Like I was just telling you, like about a greasy parlay that I like on the card, but like there's a lot of chalk for sure, and a lot of the close fights, like the Angela Hill fight, we'll get into very shortly. It's one I'm definitely fine with, staying away from.
Yeah. I actually, we'll talk about it in a second. So let's just jump in on that note then. First fight of the night. At least as of right now on Tapology, I feel like this is going to get reshuffled. Like, I don't know how. Dude, Julia Avila, Jacqueline Cavalcanti is like the prelim headliner. Like, that, no way. We got Gabriel Bonfim.
Yeah, you're right. No.
I'm saying there's no way that's actually how.
No, I thought for some reason you were saying that fight was the opening prelim.
No, I'm saying that this has to get reshuffled. Like, the first fight of the night is one of the best fights on the card.
Well, this fight's probably going to get reshuffled with that fight that you were just saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would think. I would hope. But we got Gabriel Bonfim. He's taking on Chaos Williams. Cool fight here. Current price, we got... I know Bonfim is a favorite. He is minus... Nope, that's the other Bonfim. He's minus 210. The comeback on Williams, plus 180. It's kind of a hard fight. You and I talked a bit about this earlier today. Yeah. It's kind of a hard... I kind of want to bet Chaos Williams here, but I also think it's a tough fight to handicap in that we have very, very little data of Chaos on his back. Like, you mentioned it to me and it was accurate. The vet data we do have there is like Michelle Pereira, which looked bad, but that fight was like, 5 years ago now? 4 years ago? Something like that. It was a long time. I think it was in 2020. Wow. It might have even been, it was 2020 or 2021, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2020. Wow.
Yeah, long time ago. We still had Luca. We still had everybody on the show back then when that happened. I think we were doing a live stream for that card, if I'm not mistaken. He looked bad on bottom there. He looked bad on bottom on the regionals. And obviously, Gabriel Bonfim is a pretty good grappler. I will say I don't think Gabriel is a great wrestler, though. Got a decent single leg, but I don't think his wrestling in general is all that good. Chaos has okay takedown defense. I also don't think Bonfim has the cardio to shoot 10 takedowns in a fight without like death gassing himself. So from that perspective, like I think the best case for this price is Bonfim just comes out and mugs him in the grappling. And I wouldn't be like shocked if it happened, but I don't think it's enough of a certainty to make him 67%. Having said that, though, I don't think it's necessarily a wash in the striking either. But Bonfim's he's a quality boxer. He's probably a better boxer than Chaos is. So, I mean, I think he can win on the feet early. My issue is I just think the quality of hardware difference here is just gigantic. Like Williams, in my opinion, is a lot more durable. He hits a lot harder. I don't think he's quite as fast, but he does crack very, very hard. And I think he could deter some of Bonfim's volume. I think he's much, much, much more likely of the two to win rounds based off of moments and much more likely of the two to win by knockout. So, and I also think it's probably likely that he's improved his grappling in the last 5 years. Like he's not an old fighter.
I don't know. I mean, you just look at him in general, like his persona, I guess I would say. it's tough for me to see like him putting in a ton of grappling work like every
Yeah,
single
but
fight
he's
camp. You know
not
what I
like
mean?
what is he, 29, 30? How old
30,
is Cass Williams?
30.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to project like some degree of improvement between 25 and 30, you know? So I don't know. I do lean the chaos side, but there is a lot of uncertainty in this fight, and I do sort of think if the grappling proves to be one-sided, it's possible Bonfim could pay off this price. So I don't know if I'll bet it. I probably would bet it if chaos blew out a bit, but right now I'm not like I'm not too gung-ho about it. What do you think?
Yeah, same here. And really, I mean, when you're talking about Chaos's takedown defense, I really don't think it's just proven enough to say it's great. Like, I mean,
That's
even in the because the
also
thing is,
pretty
even
true.
because in the Pereira fight, not I mean, the second round, he's just very wild, just overswings on it, just overhand right, and just gets his back taken, almost choked out. There's no time left in the fight. I mean, I think Bonfim probably could finish that position, have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Third round,
And get his hooks in. Yeah.
Pereira takes him down pretty easily in the third round too, and he just kind of accepted bottom, you know, was fine with just playing guard, and like it's not great. Like I think Bonfim's a better wrestler than Pereira.
Yeah, and on top
definitely
of
better
that,
grappler.
And like the only real, I mean, Randy Brown shot 4 takedowns, but like Randy Brown's not much of a wrestler,
No.
so it's like who really cares, you know?
Not very physical either.
So are you going to get there, you think? I'm not. I don't know if I can. If he got to like 220, I don't think he will, but if he did, I think I could go then. But
yeah,
I do sort of.
You're just dealing with a lot of volatility on the chaos side.
Yeah, and there's also a part of me that thinks Bonfim is the market was so high on him before the Dalby fight, and I feel like it's in some like he was only like minus 180 or minus 200 against Angelusa. He's like way better than Angelusa, you know? I feel like people might be holding that too harshly against him. Like not many guys are gonna like put the kind of pace on you that Nick Dalby does, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I'm not I'll tell you what, it's not really making it's not really tickling my fancy too much here. Neither is this next fight, but I'll throw it to you first. We got Angela Hill taking on Ketlin Souza. Current price, Hill minus 115. The comeback on Souza minus 105. What are your thoughts?
I think it's one that would have tickled my fancies maybe like my previous year's betting, because I probably would have bet the Angela Hill side. But at the end of the day, how do you not see this being a very close fight? I mean, I do think at the end of the day, you got to side with the back class of Angela Hill, much more volume. I think she's more defensively sound on the feet, much better footwork as well. I think she could probably mix in some grappling as well if she wanted to. But at the end of the day, I think it's probably a close fight just based on the power shots that Souza can land on the feet.
Yeah, I actually wanted to bet Souza when she was plus 120, but I hadn't taped it yet, so I didn't go. And now that she's in minus money, I don't really have any interest. But I do still feel the same way after having taped it because, look, Angela Hill is a more talented fighter. Like, there's no question about that. She's the better fighter. She's the better grappler. Obviously, way more seasoned, way more proven. But the truth is, Angela Hill is 40 years old. I think we've seen a clear decline from her recently. You know, I know the Ricci fight was competitive, but you know, I bet Ricci there. I was expecting, you know, a lot of that fight. And I think you were too, to come down to Ricci cage pushing her and getting takedowns in the clinch and stuff. She didn't really have much grappling success, but she did fine on the feet. And Ricci is really not a good striker. Like that was concerning to me. The degree of success Lupi had against her standing was pretty concerning to me. I just don't think I think she's obviously slowing down. She's still, I mean, even the Denise Gomes fight, if we're being honest, if Gomes not gassed out, that fight was getting kind of hairy. Look, Angela Hill, she's a veteran. She could just put out a vet less in there and fight like a very crafty fight. That's kind of what she's been doing these days. You know, getting in the clinch, mixing it up there, mixing in takedowns. But I do think Souza, to your point, she's not as skilled as Hill is, but I don't know that she needs to be. Hill's getting more hittable, and I think her durability is, I don't want to say cracking, like that doesn't really happen in WMMA,
no.
But I think she's reacting to shots worse than she used to, and Souza does hit for a woman, like very hard for a woman. So I don't know, like Hill, even if you look at Hill's apex, like she almost never won fights by big margins, and she still doesn't to this day. So it's like you're looking at a woman who's probably not going to win by big margins against someone who actually has some equity for knockdowns or a knockout or a critical hit, who's a lot younger, like 11 years younger. I kind of think Souza's got to be the side here. At plus 105 to 115, I'd be interested in Souza. I have no interest in laying a minus price on her, though. Moving on, we got Rafael Estevam taking on Jesus Aguilar. Current price, Estevam is minus 360. The comeback on Aguilar, plus 295. I kind of wanted to bet Estevam before this line blew out. Now I'm kind of just like, whatever. If anything, looking at this, it's like Aguilar live or Aguilar sub 3, right? Just based on like how Estevam fights. But Estevam's a much better grappler than Jesus Aguilar. Like if Aguilar doesn't hit a guillotine and if Estevam doesn't horribly death gas, I think Estevam's going to maul him. I just don't think Aguilar is a very good wrestler at all defensively. He's small. I don't think he has the footwork or the striking ability to keep this fight in space. And I think Estevam is a huge size bully. He's gigantic for the weight class. He's very athletic. He's a pretty good wrestler. I just think he's going to have no problem getting Aguilar down and probably controlling him here. Wouldn't be shocked if he subbed Aguilar early in this fight. But like I said, Estevam's a gas bag. I faded him big with Charles Johnson, and I still, to this day, am like, had Charles Johnson picked up the pace and either round 1 or especially round 2 at the end of that fight, he would have won the fight. But Estevam or Aguilar is not Charles Johnson. He's an LFA quality fighter. Rafael Estevam, in my opinion, should win this fight at a pretty high clip. What do you think?
I was just taking a look here. I completely agree with you as well. I do think that Estevam should have no issue in terms of the offensive grappling here. He basically does need to just watch his neck, and that's really it, in my opinion. I mean, even on the feet, Aguilar's pretty basic. He's got the overhand right.
I don't think he hits that hard either, honestly.
No, and no, it's really just the Shannon Ross fight that's painting that picture, I think, for everybody.
And everybody, like a stiff gust of wind puts down Shannon Ross. Like,
right. I was looking at the under 2.5 right now is plus 150.
I don't hate that because I think I mean Mendonca got in a couple positions to finish Aguilar. If he was less of a head case, he probably would have finished him in that fight. Obviously Tatsuro Taira did. I don't think that's a bad look. Yeah, I agree with you. Aguilar, honestly, I bet Aguilar in his last fight against that Australian bum, but like he's not a good fighter, man. He is and Estevam, like I think he is like fraud vibes all over him, but he's huge for the weight class. He's a pretty good wrestler. That's a nice combination.
Yeah, decent process to him.
Yeah, big process. Moving on, we got Walter Walker taking on Don'Tale Mayes. Current price, this line's blew out a bit in the last day. Walker minus 210, comeback on Mayes, plus 180. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to be shameless to say that I did parlay Walker earlier today at minus 225. I'm going to be honest. I think this closes at 3-1, if not higher. I think the grappling gap is huge between the two. I think Mayes on bottom is absolutely tragic. Walker can just find easy top time here, can easily find a finish on the mat. And on the feet, I don't think there's a ton to worry about. I mean, Mayes is pretty – and there's a lot of just lulls of time in the striking for Mayes. He's not throwing a combination. It's a lot of single shots. I mean, Walker can definitely find his range, find his shots on the feet, land those takedowns pretty easily. I think Walker smashes him.
Yeah, I have a fair amount on Walker. I bet him yesterday to win 2 units at minus 170. I bet him to win another unit at minus 186 today. Here's the thing. I almost faded Walker in his last fight with Junior Tafa. I didn't. And I do have like similar concerns about the striking, but the huge difference to your point between Junior Tafa and Don'Tale Mayes is Junior Tafa's got like real firepower to put you down. He's got fast hands and he throws in combination. To your point, Mayes is all single shots. He's goofy as hell. I think the reason he's had success in the UFC is because his style is just like so awkward and karate-ish. Guys have trouble picking it up on the feet. But I don't think he has much power at all for heavyweight. Like he knocked out Arlovsky, but Arlovsky's 44 years old. You know, like who fucking cares really?
And he knocked down Machado, and Machado's a bum.
But like that, he didn't even knock him out, you know, and he didn't swarm after. And that's kind of my thing here, right? If Mayes was a high volume striker with good footwork, I'd have some concerns. He's a mid-tempo striker with no footwork. If he had real serious knockout power, I'd have some concerns. But he has very, very limited power for heavyweight. So you have a guy with very, very few, trying to think the best way to describe this, variance increasing tools. Like he doesn't have ways to increase variance in fights where he's outskilled. No, he is the better striker, right? I mean, if they strike, he's going to win the fight. So
and even the get-ups as well.
Well, so that's what I'm getting to. So you have a guy who basically, even at his best, has very few tools to actually increase variance in a fight, who on top of which defends takedowns at, I believe it's under 50% and can't get off his back when taken down. Taking on a guy in Walter Walker who times his shots pretty well. He's a pretty good wrestler for heavyweight and has a good top game. I don't see how that's a dynamic that's under 70 to 75% here, really. I feel like Walker's going to get takedowns pretty easily. maybe Mays will work up a couple times, but Walker, even dead gassed against Lucas Dresky, was still going for them. I look, Mays has bad cardio himself, so I think Walker should, unless he gets clipped, and he could get clipped. But like I said, I don't think Mays is that dangerous. So unless he gets clipped, I think Walker should really kind of run through him here personally. Moving on, we have got Vince Morales taking on Elijah Smith. Current price, Smith, decent chalk here. He's minus 235. Come back or minus 230 now. Come back on Morales is plus 195. What do you think, Lex?
It's one we were chatting about a little bit as well. Yeah. Not super in depth, but I don't personally. The resume for Elijah Smith. There's nothing for me to see where it's like, okay, he's minus 240, like a huge favorite against Morales. Like, okay, decent on the feet, pretty basic, has a little bit of power, good offensive wrestler as well, but I think it really just drains his energy the longer the fight goes when he tries to do a wrestle-heavy game plan. And on the flip side with Morales, my just huge bugaboo, I mean, everybody's going to talk about it really. The guy's super low volume. I mean, throws hardly any strikes, lands, maybe 40, 50 strikes a fight. I just feel like his path to victory is super limited in most fights, and this fight specifically where I think Smith does have wrestling upside here for sure. So I wouldn't. No, sorry.
Go.
I was just gonna say I don't. If you talk about the under in this fight, I don't think it's great. I don't think Smith's super live to finish. And on the Morales side, I think there's almost no finishing upside.
Yeah. So Glenbot asked what we think about the under. So real quick in the Walker fight, I kind of lean goes distance honestly, but anyway, I'm torn between betting Morales and just waiting to bet live. Obviously, Smith does not have cardio to sustain any kind of pace for 3 rounds. That's fairly clear based on the couple times he's gone deep into a fight. I personally think Elijah Smith is a gigantic fraud. He's a pretty good wrestler, good 1-2, very fast. He's obviously very athletic, more athletic than Morales for sure. But he's got really bad defense. Like, he doesn't move his head at all. He's pretty easy to hit on the feet. I don't think he's a particularly good control grappler. I know he's got a bunch of finishes regionally, but I don't think his power is going to carry that much into the UFC from what I can see. I just feel like he's a guy. It's like you're talking about a bantamweight with bad cardio who's not going to control many people. That's not great. The question for me is just like Vince Morales and our boy Luke and I were chatting about this today, but actually, he just doesn't produce offense. Like you go back, like I expect this to be a competitive fight. And maybe that's enough to bet Vince Morales here. Because I do think, like, I'd be really surprised if Elijah Smith just ran away with this fight. Because I don't think he's going to be able to out-wrestle. I mean, he'll be able to get takedowns, but I don't think he's going to control Morales. I don't think, like, it's easy to look at Morales against Taylor Lapilus and get concerned here. But, dude, Taylor Lapilus would fuck Elijah Smith up, like, badly. Taylor Lapilus is a really, really good fighter. I don't know, man. Like, I think Morales wins the 3rd round at a very high clip here. My issue is I don't really trust Vince to put out the pace he needs to really get to Smith. Like, he's going to let him fight at his own pace a bit. But what I keep thinking about, and I'm curious you're taking this, even having said that, like, I don't even think fresh Smith is likely to, like, easily outstrike Vince Morales. I really don't. He's easy to hit, he's faster, but he's very easy to find on the feet. I don't. Like
Vince is just easy to put. Vince is just easy to put volume on, and I think that's the issue.
But like, is Elijah Smith better than Miles Johns? Like, I kind of feel like
that's funny you bring that up. It's funny you bring that up because I was literally just thinking about that earlier because I was like, man, this reminds me a lot. I feel like you, and Luke were probably like talking about this fight, that fight specifically, Vince and Miles, and you guys both bet Vince, and I'm like, no, like Vince doesn't.
It was a close fight. It was a very close fight.
30-27, but yeah.
But you could have made a case for Morales winning that fight. Like it was very, very. But see, that's kind of my point though, because that fight they landed the same amount of volume. It was very, very close on margins. Like I just kind of feel like I have a hard time projecting Morales to or like Elijah Smith to like. I think I'd favor Miles Johns against Elijah Smith. I have a hard time projecting Elijah Smith to do that much better. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. It's Morales or pass. I'm either going to bet Vince pre or I'll bet him live after like a round or 7 minutes into the fight. But I think Smith's career is going to, well, he's athletic enough. I guess he could put it together. to me, he seems like not a real fighter. Like, does not seem to have the it factor to me. That's the vibe I get from him.
I don't think he has the it factor, but I think he'll win, a couple UFC fights like
Yeah,
these.
he's a good athlete. He's a good athlete.
Yeah.
He can wrestle. I mean, that goes a long way.
Yep.
Coming up next, though, I'm going to end up taking a big dog shot here. We got Jacqueline Cavalcanti. She is taking on Julia Avila. The current price, Jacqueline Cavalcanti minus 500. Julia Avila comeback plus 375. When I say big dog shot, I don't mean I'm going to go big on the big dog. I am going to take a shot on the big dog.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah, I like Jacqueline Cavalcanti as a fighter quite a bit, to be honest with you. I think she's great volume, good size for the division, things you love, great cardio. What I can't get over is the fact, now I don't think either should have been split, but she went to split decisions with Josiane Nunes and Nora Cornell. In part because if you get inside on her, you can clip her, and she's not really an assertive striker. It's just the way it is. It's just a lot of harmless volume is what she's putting out there for the most part, and she has no grappling threat. And she's fighting Julia Avila, who looked awful in her last fight, no question about it, against Miesha Tate. But that fight was shortly removed from her having a kid, and I mean, let's be honest, even at Julia Avila's absolute apex, she was not a great grappler. Like, we all remember Sajara Eubanks ran through her on the mat similarly as well. So, like, did it make me think she was washed? In part, yeah, but she was a favorite to Miesha Tate last fight. Now she's almost plus 400 here against a chick who's not really a KO threat with no grappling threat at all, who's a point striker. And you look at Julia Avila's career, and this is a woman who's a pretty good striker with a lot of firepower, like plus power for a woman, very, very fast. I look at her Instagram. She looks like she's in great shape to me. Much better shape than she was in last fight. She seems to be training a ton. I think she's got much more of a chance to knock out Cavalcanti. Well, she's old and maybe she's on the way down, but she has, I think, based on her historics, though, I would say she has much more of a chance to have big moments at a consistent clip than Cavalcanti has. Like, Julia Avila, I mean, maybe she's not anymore, but I personally would still rate her over Josiane Nunes and Nora Cornell fairly easily. I don't see how you get to a volume point striker with no power and no grappling upside being minus 500 against someone who hits way harder than her, who no one has outvolumed on the feet in her career. Like, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. She could be done, but like, also, I think the line is where it is because of how ugly last fight was. But like I said, Julia Avila was never a good grappler. Like, Miesha Tate mogging her, it looked bad, but like, that's Miesha Tate's game, against someone with a bad bottom game. To me, it's possible that the line is accurate and it's not a case of recency bias, but I think there's a very, very strong chance that there's a lot of recency bias built into this line, and we're getting someone who was like minus 300 in half her UFC fights at plus 400 here because of one bad performance right after having a baby. So I'm going to take a small pop on Julia Avila. I don't know if it'll be a half unit or a unit, but I'll have some cash there. What do you think?
Well, to be fair, I guess I'll push back a little bit there. I mean, look at the minus 300 girls that she was lined over in those spots. I mean, her resume.
Penny Kanzad, she beat.
Well, yeah, true. She wasn't lined 3-1 in that spot.
No, but she beat. But like, that's a pretty good. It's a better win than anything Cavalcanti's got.
I'm saying like the other. I would say there was a lot of other scrubs on that resume, not Penny specifically. I mean, I agree with you where the line's at like minus 400 with, no grappling to speak of, completely volume striking. It is a Vila pass.
Judges don't like her game. Seems pretty obvious to me, after the last two fights.
She's not assertive. She's not trying to step on the front foot. She doesn't have a ton of power. I don't know. I might end up with you, John. Might be a small shot, but
sometimes you got to make the hard decisions, like so. That's what this year is all about. We've had Haley Barcelos. This is.
I know. All right, jeez.
This is the year of tough decisions. This is where the market fights back.
Yes.
Moving on, though, we have got the main card starting. I'm curious your take here. This is a funny fucking fight. We got Adolfo Vieira. He's taking on Andre Petroski. Current price Vieira minus 215. The comeback on Petroski plus 185. What do you think here?
Well, for starters, this is not closing out my parlay, and I would never even touch Vieira in this kind of a spot at this kind of a line. But I personally do think like him being a moderate favorite is justified. I do think he's the better grappler of the two, and Petroski's striking. While he's the better striker of the two, it's not a deep striking game by any means. These guys both have bad cardio. I kind of trust Vieira a little bit more in later in the fight. As crazy as that sounds,
he's not a bitch. That's the big difference. I don't, but it's true. Yes. Like Vieira's in there getting his body ripped apart by Chris Curtis and still throwing back. You know,
that's the fight I was just going to bring up. That dude went 15 minutes, and he definitely could have been finished in that spot.
Yeah, and he didn't quit. It was a close fight. It was a pretty close fight.
Yep.
I'm not betting.
Still going over 20 on takedowns.
Yeah, yes. So that's my thing, right? Like, because like there's a part of me that's like, man, Petroski's probably got the wrestling to keep this upright, and Vieira is a better striker, but he's easy to hit, and Petroski throws hard. But at the same time, like all of the intangibles in this fight favor Vieira. Like, I think he's way tougher. I think even though his cardio isn't great, I think he's got better cardio than Petroski does. He is the much better grappler. Like, I guess my big fear for Vieira is like if they both start getting tired, what if Petroski just does what he did against Turman and just starts hitting takedowns and Vieira is gassed and isn't able to really hit anything? Like, I feel like that's a low-key outcome that could happen here where Petroski, they both start to slow a bit in round two and Petroski just decides, okay, I'm just going to get locked hands and take him down over and over. And Vieira is too gassed to really muster jiu-jitsu.
Could happen.
I think, yeah. But having said that, I do think Vieira is the much better grappler, and I also think he's the much better striker, and I think he's got much more heart and is much tougher than Petroski. And I also rate the quality of his wins a lot higher than I rate the quality of Andre Petroski's. So I don't know. I think this is a messy fight. I don't think you could ever lay this price on Rodolfo here. I could make a case for Andre, but I don't want to. You know, the time to bet him was to lay the juice against Bucko or bet him against Josh. You bet him against Fremd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or to bet him against.
Oh no,
Fremd,
no. I bet Fremd against him. That was a dumb bet. Awful bet.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. You bet Petroski. I think we went head to head there. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna pass. But I think Vieira deserves the price. I think he's gonna win. I think there are permutations of this fight that could look weird where we're like, oh my god, Petroski out wrestled for Vieira because they're both gassed out. I don't know. Moving on, we have a pretty funny fight here. Jose Delgado, he's taking on Connor Matthews. Delgado pretty chalked up here, minus 275. Come back on Matthews, plus 235. What are your thoughts here, Legs?
So Delgado is the other half of my parlay, actually, at minus 280. I think on the feet, he has much more diverse attacks, ton of volume on the feet. He is a bit hittable for sure. I think Matthews by far is way more hittable in that aspect. And in terms of the grappling, I think Delgado can land takedowns for sure here. I mean, easily find top time. I think the huge price is warranted, and I think obviously he could be much bigger. Minus 350, minus 400 in the spot, personally.
What would you say
he's got great cardio too?
What would you say is below a role player?
I don't know. That's what's tough.
Because that's what Connor Matthews is.
You think.
Connor Matthews is not it, man. This guy, like, I don't get me wrong. He's a fun fighter. I respect the hell out of his heart. But this dude does not have a single UFC level skill, in my opinion. Maybe his calf kicks, but even that, I don't think are that great.
Like, I don't even think you can say he's tough.
No, I mean he had his contenders win was pretty gritty, in my opinion. Same thing with the beating, the ass kicking he took against Francis Marshall and kept coming was pretty impressive.
Okay, but I do think his durability definitely has question marks.
Yeah, I don't think he's good at anything. I really don't. I think I am like hoping to get a chance to bet like mine. Glenbot said his Jose sub kind of sneaky. And what's the price on it? I feel like that should be kind of like the most favorite outcome for Delgado. It's out there are props out there on Bet Online right now.
Yep.
I kind of think Jose's gonna sub him, to be honest.
Plus 350. Actually, the KO is favored plus 250.
I lean sub over KO, to be honest. But I like where Glenbot's head's at with that, because Matthews has 5 subs and hasn't been subbed, but I actually think he's kind of a squid when he gets put on the mat. So I mean, Delgado, I don't know how to feel about Delgado as a prospect. I think he's got holes. I think he's especially got defensive holes.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty skeptical on how he's going to do long term. But what I will say is he's got a lot of firepower. He's got great cardio, a lot of volume, and he's a solid grappler with pretty good jiu-jitsu. And I think that is all you really need. Like Connor Matthews he's a litmus test for whether you are UFC level. Like that is like, he is like the bottom of the barrel of this division. And if you can't beat him, you don't belong in the UFC. It's that simple. I think Delgado should handle him. I've even considered laying the price on Delgado. I'm just like, I fucking hate laying chalk on debutants. Like I feel like so many bad things have happened to me when I try to do that. But I think he should absolutely beat Connor Matthews' ass here, personally.
Like Japanese Connor, John?
Japanese Connor, Cortavius Romeus, those did not go great. So that's really my only hesitance, because I agree with you, Legs. I feel like skill-wise, he's like minus 500 here. I just, these kids come in there and they get nerves.
Look at Cody Steele last fight out. And we talk about that specifically. I mean, these first fight jitters are definitely a real thing.
They're a real thing.
Kind of just
and it's like, what happens if he gets a calf kick lands the wrong way, and now he's kind of panicking in there because he hasn't had to deal with it before? You don't know. But dude, Delgado's gonna fucking whoop his ass. I'm like pretty confident. I honestly think I don't want to say he's a good prospect, but he's a good athlete. He's got a lot of firepower, and that's really all he needs here.
He's got a lot of good traits. Really, if he just shores up his defensive holes on the feet,
well,
I think he's pretty solid.
But the defensive holes are pretty big. Like Ernie Juarez was having a fair amount of success striking with him. So they are big. I just don't think Matthews really is potent enough to capitalize on them, in my opinion. But Ishmael Bonfim taking on Nazim Sadikov. Current price, Bonfim minus 180. Comeback on Sadikov plus 155. I have Bonfim to win 2 units at minus 148. I honestly have thought about adding even here. I'm hoping we get a bit of Sadikov buyback. I think Bonfim is a lot better than Nazim is, in my opinion. I don't think it's close. Yeah. Or shouldn't say I don't think it's close. It could be a close fight. I just think skill for skill, it's not that close, in my opinion. Like, Bonfim's got really, really good head strike metrics. He's just really defensively sound in general. Very good on the counter. Goes to the body well. Can fight out of both stances. He's a competent enough grappler that I don't really think he should be able to get back up. No problem if Nazim does decide to take him down, which he probably won't. Compared to Nazim, who also is pretty offensively potent, to give Nazim credit, like he hits hard enough. He's got a decent left. He's got some solid kicks. But Nazim's got no defense whatsoever. He's low volume. He lets his opponents get off offense at a much higher clip than he does. Like, if you go and look at their stats, Bonfim is like striking 25% more efficiently than his opponents and outlanding them by 2.5 strikes a minute. Nazim is landing 15% less efficiently than his opponents and getting outstruck by 3 strikes a minute. I feel like that tells like a lot of the story here. Even going to the Borshev fight, it was a draw, but it was a draw because he clipped him behind the ear, and Borshev's body just basically went stiff and he got pummeled to a 10-8. But the rest of that fight, the other 11 minutes of that fight were an absolute shit kicking. Borshev outlanded him like 140 to 80. And that 80 is like with Nazim having basically fought a corpse for 4 straight minutes in there, seriously, I know he was dead, for a lot of the second round of that fight.
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say you can finish. I was
gonna say I think that Bonfim is at worst on Slava's level. Frankly, I think he's a bit better of a striker, and I think he's a lot more impactful. Like, he lands harder, and he's a lot faster. I don't think he's a lock or anything like that, but I do think he should be in the minus 200 range here. Like, Nazim, I think, needs to have moments, and I think Bonfim is a lot more likely to have moments and is going to land a lot more volume, and I think is not likely to get that much grappling success. I think Bonfim's a pretty good prospect. I don't want to say Nazim's trash. He's not trash. He's a good body, but like he's like a mid to bottom tier fighter, in my opinion, in the UFC. And I think Bonfim should handle him. What do you think?
Yeah, he's got decent traits. I mean, super athletic, got a pace as well. He'll come forward. He will, pursue the wrestling. But to your point, when we're talking about Slava, I mean, Bonfim's way more defensively sound than Slava. And talking about that fight specifically, the Slava fight with Sadikov, he didn't have a ton of grappling success fresh against him. Like, it was really until he was putting damage on Slava and later in that fight. Like, takedowns were not coming easy in that spot. And I don't think they're going to come easy here. I think people paint like an awful picture because of the BSD fight, whereas like he was also like very crippled to the body by that point as well too. Like, don't get me wrong, Bonfim definitely has his defensive grappling.
BSD is an athletic freak too.
Yeah. I think on the fee here, Bonfim should easily find Sadikov on the counter, super hittable. I think an under is a good spot too. That's like plus 150, but I think I probably will join you as well on the Bonfim money line.
Yeah, it's my favorite spot on him and Walker probably about even for me. I like them both quite a bit. Moving on, we got Cavalcanti taking on Youssef Zalal. Zalal's minus 390 at the moment. Come back on Cater plus 325. What are your thoughts here? Is the line wide?
I think this is one I, again, would have gotten suckered into before, but I do feel like just the footwork. I mean, Zalal is a solid kickboxer in general, but the footwork, the speed, the offensive grappling of Zalal as well. I mean, I think he has just a ton of different I win buttons here. So I mean, the line does seem nuts, but I think Zalal definitely can cover the price for sure.
I don't think Zalal is going to have an easy time grappling Cater. Like, I saw someone say that to me like earlier in the week, and I'm like, because they compared it to the Aljo fight, but I'm like, guys, like Aljo would turn Zalal into a pretzel. Like, it's not even comparable, the two they're grappling. But I do agree with you. I like Cater, even at his absolute peak, had bad footwork and struggled with guys that fought and moved, that had good footwork and moved well. His whole career, it was a big issue for him. And now his footwork's even worse than it used to be. He's slower. He's had a couple surgeries. He's old. And Zalal, literally on the feet, is exactly that kind of specimen. He's a guy who doesn't get hit much. He moves very well. He's very good at striking on the move. I agree with you that if one of them is likely to have grappling success, it's going to be Zalal here. So, yeah, I mean, if Zalal decides to bite down with Cater in the pocket, yeah, Cater could buzz him or just outstrike him in that event. But that's not Zalal's game, so I don't really expect him to do that. And I think, I mean, Cater's old and he's past it, in my opinion. The one thing that kind of interests me, if it keeps coming in, like goes the distance, is minus 210 right now. If that got to like minus 200 or a bit less, I think I'd take a shot at it. Like, if Aljo didn't sub Cater, I really don't think Zalal is going to. Could knock him out, but Cater historically is crazy durable, and I don't think Zalal is that big a hitter. So I'm moderately interested in a goes the distance if it comes in a bit more. But yeah, Cater has looked really bad in his last like 4 fights. Even the Giga fight, man. Yeah. Like if he doesn't get a back take in the first minute of that fight, he didn't look great the rest of that fight. Giga was just a corpse in front of him. So I like he's the better boxer, right? Like Cater, like there are going to be people who make an argument this week the price can't be right because of how much better Cater is at boxing. My counter argument is show me one single fight where Cater learned how to cut off the octagon. You can't because he hasn't. You know, the story of his entire career is he's very leg kickable and he's very easy to outmaneuver. He's like 145-pound Pedro Munoz, honestly. He's like a slightly worse version of Pedro Munoz.
Yeah,
that's like great literally what he is, you know?
Because they'll be like, oh, he's got power. But it's like, I mean, stand in front of him. Stay in front of him. Yeah.
It's Munoz without the calf kicks and without the jiu-jitsu. You know, like that's not a great thing. So I think Zalal is going to win fine. I think he'll probably win by decision. I might even bet him. What is he by decision? Actually,
so him by decision
minus 160. That's actually not bad. They're like saying he's 80% to win the fight, but only 60% by decision. I don't think he's got that much, man. I mean, Cater's old. I just don't think he's got that much finishing equity. Honestly, I really don't. I mean, do you?
No, I don't, and that's really the only counter I would have to like your GTD. Like, I think it's all. I think it's mostly like the fight finishing is mostly predicated on Zalal finding grappling, in my opinion. Like, if it just stays mostly standing, like maybe a takedown or two for Zalal, I think it goes the distance like at a pretty high clip.
Yeah, I agree. Even if he gets 4 takedowns, I mean, you never say never, but I really don't think Zalal is subbing Cater. I'd be surprised at that. Moving on, though, we have got the main event. Gregory Rodrigues taking on Jared Gorilla Cannonier. Rodrigues starting to blow out a bit. He's minus 210 now. Come back on Jared plus 180. What do you think, Lags? You think Jared's got one more upset in him?
I don't, because he's another one that's kind of just looking old and slow lately. I mean, I bet him against Kyle, which, you know, was a decently competitive fight. And Kyle's looking to be a pretty solid prospect in his own right. But I honestly, if this price came in a little bit on the Hobocop side, because people, you know, buying into that Jared narrative, the 5-round nature, this and that, I would bet the Hobocop side. I think he does have some grappling equity. I think the big concerns for me would really be that 5-round nature. Like, what does his cardio look like if he is pursuing that heavy grappling? Because we really only have seen it now in 2 fights where he's gone to a very extensive grappling path. So it definitely gives me a lot of pause for sure. But I think the under is a decent look as well. I'm not super tempted at pick 'em, but I just think both these guys standing, there's a lot of durability flaws. I mean, Hobocop's super hittable. Jared obviously on the decline as well. Hobocop huge power. I see this fight finishing at a pretty high clip.
I when the fight came out, and even like before I taped it last week, I was thinking I'd probably bet Jared because I did remember the Kaio fight as being pretty competitive, and it was for 4 rounds. It was pretty competitive. And obviously the 5th round was ugly. But that's the problem. The 5th round, he took a fuckload of damage. He got hurt.
And the Imavov fight not great either.
No, he took a lot of damage, and these are within 12 months. Like, he's turning around very quick off 2 fights where he ate a ton of shit at 40 years old. And I believe he had an injury prior to the Imavov fight too. And if you go back a bit further than that, people may forget, but Marvin Vettori hurt him very, very badly. Like, I think Jared's pretty clearly got declining durability here. Something that really concerned me about the Kaio fight. I knew Kaio was a bit faster, but the degree to how much faster he was surprised me a bit. I just think his body's starting to slow down, man. He's 40 years old. The fact that he's turning around this quick, I don't want to say it for sure, but it makes me think he's just grabbing another paycheck, main event paycheck here. Why not? I'm sure he's training, don't get me wrong, but RoboCop, he's on a high trajectory here. He is, I mean, Tristan just said in the chat, he's going to be 41 in April. Like, dude is fucking old for middleweight.
Dude probably hangs up after this 3 straight.
Yeah. He's got the grappling edge. He's got the speed edge. He probably has the power edge at this point, if we're being honest. He checks leg kicks, which takes away one of Jared's main weapons. His cardio against both Tavares and in his last fight with Christian Leroy Duncan looks like it's gotten a lot better. Now, don't get me wrong. I still do have concerns about RoboCop's chin. I don't think it's great, but that's like, to me, the one way Jared wins this fight. I think he's going to lose minutes. I think he's going to lose the damage battle. He's the worst grappler. He's a lot older. Yeah, I mean, I think RoboCop is a favorite, and being like a moderate-sized favorite, maybe even a bit wider, makes some sense, honestly. Like, am I going to lay minus 210? No, I'm not. But to your point, Lags, I kind of agree with you. I taped this one this morning. Like, if it got like minus 180 on RoboCop again, minus 185, I'd consider it. I think he should be fine. Oh, I shouldn't, because he could get knocked out, but
he could. But even like, and that's really the big concern, because the thing I was just going to talk about was even the cardio dynamic. Like, you could say, if RoboCop slows down a bit, but like, if we get to that point, I feel like Jared's eating a shit ton of damage to the point where I don't know if he's going to be able to
slowed down hard against Imavov, but last time he was in a high-paced fight,
So I'm not sure he's even going to be able to take over in that kind of an instance. So,
yeah, I completely agree with you. It's sad because I love Jared. He's a good fighter. I've enjoyed betting him in the past, but I think this is probably won't get his walking papers, but I think it's probably going to be his last main event. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll retire. That's the other thing. He could be retired. This could be his last fight. We really don't have any idea,
Yeah.
All the downside, like the big significant downside in this fight, is on the Jared side, and like all the huge upside is on the RoboCop side.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm okay passing it at the price. I'm with you. I would take a shot at Robo if it came in a bit more. 2.5. I kind of agree. It's kind of tempting, but also, Jared's had a way of like, he hangs around, he's not a guy that gets.
I would need a 3.5, a little bit of chalk maybe to actually get myself invested.
Yeah, agree. But I think we both like Rodrigues. I don't think it'll be a fun main event, but I don't think it's all that compelling, to be honest. I actually think next week's main event is a lot more compelling. That's Cejudo and Song. I have to tape it, but I think I'll have some thoughts on it. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. As usual, please, if you like the show, drop a like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Sunday, though, don't forget, we're back on Sundays, 7 p.m. I will see you then. Take it easy, everybody. Good luck on your bets this weekend. Peace.